anyways, I'm John Lammers, President of Alliance for Life Ontario. And maybe I'll just have the existing, actually we should start with a prayer first, shouldn't we? Of course. It's pretty close to Pentecost. I know it was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if maybe not everybody celebrates it, but it's kind of the birthday of the church, so to speak. And I'll just have a little passage out of Acts chapter 2. On the day of Pentecost, all the believers were meeting together in one place. Suddenly, there was a sound from heaven like a roaring of a mighty windstorm, and it filled the house where they were sitting. Then what looked like flames of tongues of fire appeared and settled on each of them. And everyone present was filled with the Holy Spirit and began speaking in the other languages as the Holy Spirit gave them this ability. At that time, there were devout Jews in every nation living in Jerusalem. When they heard the loud noise, everyone came running, and they were bewildered to hear their own languages being spoken by the believers. They were completely amazed. "How can this be?" they exclaimed. "These people are all from Galilee, and yet we hear them speaking in our own native language." And then it lists a whole bunch of names I have trouble pronouncing. But others in the crowd ridicule, saying, "They're just drunk, that's all." And of course, Peter responds to that and says, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. What are you thinking? But anyway, just a little reflection as we journey through some of the challenges we have as pro-life folks in this environment, this culture. We do need to call on that Holy Spirit and, be open to the Holy Spirit. I believe the Holy Spirit's available, but I think part of it is just being open to it. So let's start with a prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We ask our Heavenly Father to bless this gathering today, that we may be led by the Holy Spirit, strengthened by the Holy Spirit, receive that grace, wisdom, and ultimately keeping joy in our hearts, keeping joy in our step, in our ability to portray a culture of life to all those that we encounter, and doing it with the love, the hands and feet and heart of Christ. And we ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen. All right. And we'll throw in that prayer, Dr. Com Sheeby. And Jeff from our board is just, his mother just passed, so a prayer for him and his family and her and all those lifers that have gone forward. I think this thing's cutting out, but we'll have to take a look at that. Okay, as we come together, I just again thank everyone for coming, and maybe our own board, if we could get them to stand up and people could recognize who's on our Alliance for Life board. All right, that's good. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we'll get into business and adoption of the agenda for today. If someone wants to, if you're good with it, or maybe if you see anything you want to add, or
we do. The resolution. If we could add resolutions as item V1, and then Bill 218 as item V11 under other business. Sorry.
That's okay.
What's the last one? Sorry.
Bill 218. Maurice, where are you? Did you get that, Maurice?
Bill 218 and the resolution.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, if everyone's good with that, someone want to move it that we accept it? Jeff, okay. Seconder, Blaze, all in favor? All right, that looks like it passes. Thank you. An adoption of the minutes from June 15th last year. I think they're in your package, which...
They were distributed.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we're actually going through them, right? No. I've seen some of you guys had a chance to read it ahead of time, but if you were here last time, then that would be a good opportunity for you to approve the minutes. Anyone wants to do that? Any discussion on the minutes, I guess? Everybody's speed reading right now.
No, they were sent to our group, so
They
we
were,
just need
they were sent out a while ago. All right, so if someone just wants to approve them, Gigi. Seconder, Morris, all right. All in favor of that? All right, that's carried. All right, then we'll just get into the business of, well, of the reading of things out of the minutes. And Jackie, I guess you're on for that?
Yes, yes, thank you. Okay, good morning everyone. Just so that you all know, we didn't do a roll call, but we do have 30 paid up members and 17 of them are present here today. So we do have a quorum to have our annual general meeting, just so that you know. So the first order of business there was the 2023 Canadian abortion statistics, which were released in March. Just some points on that. 80% of the abortions in Canada procured are in facilities that are not required to report. And basically what that means is that they're all going from hospitals to other facilities. And hospitals are mandated to give the outcome of every single thing that happens as a procedure in the hospital. So we have the numbers of abortions, we have all the demographics, we have everything. And they were always reported in the CITE, the Canadian Institute for Health Information Report, in previous years until this is the third year now that they are not even reporting demographics from hospitals. So we get no real demographics other than the number, the age, the gestation of the child, where the abortion was performed. But I just, this piece is actually the basis for one of the resolutions I'd like us to look at later on. Also with the statistics, once again, the medical abortions are going up. Now, all I can say to you is this is the official figure. I honestly don't, even though this is being recorded, I don't believe a thing that we have coming out of our governments regarding the numbers. So we're looking at 101,553 for 2023 as far as abortions are concerned, and we're told that 41% of those are medical abortions or chemical abortions, as we generally call them. And then just recently, and it is in your package, Canada has killed 150 babies in live birth abortions last year. And we've got statistics there that say that in the last 5 years, there have been 642 late-term born alive abortions and 5,738 late-term stillbirth abortions. That means they happen to kill them in the womb and then they're born dead. You have those figures there, but it's horrendous to me that it's getting worse and worse and worse. Our Ontario MAID statistics, we are going to have a presentation which will include the information on that, so I'm not going to belabor it, but we are looking at a strategy with Alexander. Actually, we've had a couple of talks about how we get our coroner to actually investigate the 428 deaths where it was found that procedures were broken, guidelines were broken. And there is a protocol for when that happens, when the physician or the nurse practitioner that is actually doing the killing, if they don't follow the proper guidelines, that's reported. And in the Ontario coroner's, one of his reports, he has more or less said, I'm frustrated. This isn't his language, but he's saying it. I'm frustrated because I have told you over and over and over again, that is breaking the law, that is breaking the law, that is breaking the law, and they're all ignoring him. I'm not sure we're surprised, but there you go. So Alex hopefully will bring us up to date on that. Now the local pressure on hospices not to cure patients. Have any of our groups done anything? Have you sort of been to the hospice? Have you made any comments? Anybody done anything with your local hospices, even to support them in not killing? Not yet? Okay, then we need to get cracking on that, right? Or I need to get the whip out. So the Ontario Corporations Act, we have such a big thank you. Jeff, do you want to say anything, a little update or anything regarding this?
I think people can hear me.
Okay.
Okay, so there were a number, of course, groups that retained me to help them make the changes that were required as of last October to your articles and your bylaws. And we got into some later difficulties with the government accepting the submissions. Sometimes they returned 3, 4, 5 times for this defect or alleged defect or that alleged defect, and some of it had to do with the inconsistency between the information we submitted and what was already on file with the government. So if you hadn't updated your information as to directors and officers and the right spelling and the email address, the official, it got rejected for those reasons. And then after October, the Director of Corporations had passed guidelines, a handbook, saying how they want these required changes to appear. So, which is very unusual because here you have some bureaucrat trying to dictate precise language. So then they were getting rejected because I didn't use precise language, which is, again, it's unprecedented because normally lawyers are allowed to choose the appropriate language that reflects the requirement. So in actual fact, it reflects what the law required, but because it is used precise language, they were getting rejected. Well, I got another law firm, Carter's, referred me to their fixer, the government, who approves things that aren't quite perfect, but they should be approved anyway. So she helped me get a lot of things approved anyway in this manner, and so things are quietly being resolved. So almost all the ones that retain me have gotten to the goal line, and just a couple of stragglers that have to do the filings for them. One case, Thunder Bay, is a mystery because they cashed the check to complete the filing, but the government doesn't know where the file is. So we have to keep trying to get that one fixed, but it is resolving itself. And then for the groups that did nothing, or there may be other groups that hired some other lawyer to do it, and that's fine. But if you haven't made the required changes, this very quirky law says that you're deemed to have done what you were supposed to do. If you didn't do it, so you're deemed to have done it. We don't know what a court would say the effect of that is, but you could have, of course, your current articles and bylaws be inconsistent with what the law says you need to have done. So there might be still a useful thing, to do to go through the process. So if you still want to do that and you haven't done it through another lawyer, still give me a call and we can process you, after the fact and just regularize the situation so your documentation, as it's written, will be in course of the law and will not belong to your board certainly, because otherwise it's pursued. So don't hesitate. If you haven't seen a lawyer do it, there probably is a good reason to try to formalize the changes anyway. So I'm hoping to proceed with communications on getting that done. Okay, so
Thank you.
are there any questions about that?
Thanks, Jeff, very much. We are so blessed to have him, like we are a lot of people, but I would not have wanted to go through this on my own. So Jeff, really, I'm sure most of us feel that way. Thank you very much. I may have been slow to the game on item 5, but I had not realized that you could actually, as an organization, be an official advocate to the government. Something that the Abortion Rights Coalition of Canada sent me made me realize that they are. So we are applying also to be one of those advocates to the federal government. And then I'll look into Ontario to see if we can do it in Ontario as well. But what it means is that when you write, it goes onto a platform that all the MPs see, goes to their offices. So I'm looking forward to getting our voice in there. Sorry, after all these years, I'd really not realized that existed.
One experience that I had writing letters to multiple members of Parliament at the same time is if you listen more than one member of Parliament or one ballot minister or whatever, they write back to you, well, we only take individual requests, we don't take group corporate requests. So that's hilarious that they can do it that system.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it seems to be something to do with our message, I think. Yeah. Could just be. Could just be. We did talk last year about our commission study. That 60% of Canadian women who underwent abortion were forced or coerced against their values. We're working on a couple of things from that. The one thing you might want to know is that we've been trying to get it published all of this time. Nobody wants to publish it. The publishers in the States, the organizations that have journals, well, they've got their US counterpart, so they're not really interested in seeing a Canadian one. And in Canada, the Canadian Medical Association Journal, we're actually, in language, not interested in having anything that represented abortion negatively. So they don't want to look at the fact that 60% of Canadian women were saying they were coerced into that abortion. So we're still pushing, and the big thing that we're actually pushing is the recommendation from David that we have an abortion risk registry, which would be an internet form, and basically it would direct the Ministry of Health to create an internet accessible pre-abortion risk assessment form to collect data useful for identifying risk factors for negative abortion outcomes, and being coerced or forced is one of those risk factors. The reasons women are having abortions, to ensure a follow-up assessment of any complications, and then any other data such as, circumstances that might be important for us to have. So that's the job after the summer, and there is a sheet in your package that talks about reasons for seeking abortion, and I will say, yes, this is from the States, because we can't seem to get anything much here. But you will see that 95.9% of abortions in the numbers that they did the survey with, the women, it was elective or for unspecified reasons. You have that sheet, so you can take a look. 0.4% rape and incest, 0.3 risk to the woman's life or a major bodily function, 2.2 other physical health concerns, 1.2 abnormality in the unborn child. So we're looking at, I mean, it's just become so routine, and most of us know that, but anyway. So we were going to be working on that abortion risk. It's gone off. Come on. Joseph around? What's happening? Anyway, I'll shout. It's not going. It's not going. We won't wait for it. It's got a little thing in it.
Another plug is interesting.
Okay, all right. We'll let the techies do what they're going to do. Sorry, so we will work on that. The other piece, and again, we're having a speaker today, Mr. Woodworth. Stephen, I think he's arrived. There you are. Because one of the things I've always been trying to push us to do, and I think in the 40 years I've been involved in this work, I've never had an MP tell me that it's the right time to address the Criminal Code 223, which says that the child in the womb is not a human being. So I'm hoping that what we hear from Mr. Woodworth today will give us a starting block, and then again over the summer, I'll try and put something together. I've also asked MP Ted Falk if he will sponsor another petition for us, like we had over there, our petition of 1 million, when we collected 39,000 signatures, and they accepted 35,000, and then the only response we got back from them was that they supported a woman's right to choose. So that's it. Oh, the women on the web, yeah, I did some investigating for that because they've been sending, and there's a pharmacy in Toronto, I don't know if the Toronto folks know where that is, that the pharmacist there will send out the chemical abortion pill to anybody, anywhere in Canada, anywhere, just straight to your home. That's fine. They have physicians that will prescribe it, and then thank you. Oh, look at this, eh? Just as I'm finished, you worked that out well. And I did look at Canada Post because I was rather hoping, because they're such lethal drugs to the child, that they wouldn't allow them to be put through the post, but these pills are considered medication, as is the medication for euthanasia. So that you're allowed to put medication into the post. All right, we're up, seeing as our president's busy. Is our treasurer around? Jeannie, are you there? You want to come up and... Sorry, John, you should be doing this now.
Sure. Here, I'll just hand it off.
Thank you. Good morning. I will refer you to the first page, notice to reader. And this is a pretty standard statement. On the basis of the information provided by the Treasurer, I have compiled the balance sheet of Alliance for Life Ontario as at December 31st, 2024, and the statement of operations for the year then ended. I have performed a review engagement in respect of these financial statements. However, a complete and thorough audit was not completed. Accordingly, I express no assurance thereon. Readers are cautioned that these statements may not be appropriate for their purposes. April Restelli. And the board did meet to approve these statements. And then I will refer you to the statement of operations. Donations. Donations are not as many as last year, but okay. Membership fees are less, but the provincial associate assessment is more, so that means the groups were giving more for to appreciate all the work that Jackie and the board does. Advertising income was a donation, a lot of that. AGM conference, we spent less this year on the conference than we did the year before. Expenses, sorry, that was income. That's income, not expenses. We're starting the expenses now. Speaker fees, again, were more last year. Because I think that was the year we had Dr. Lyle and the pro-life doc. Again, the conference costs were less this year. Anybody have any questions on that statement? If not, oh, yes.
I noticed that the printing must have been free this year.
The printing.
Did it go in the pardon? What? Did it go in the
Jackie said she did it all in the office. Any other questions? Yes?
So I noticed that if it weren't for the advertising income, it'd be down around 64K, which is a really big dip from the previous year. And I guess that's the half of the donations. Donations are basically half what they were.
Yes, on the first line, yeah.
Maybe the question is why the donations went down so much. People don't give. It's simple.
Well, and sometimes, if we're in a situation we need funds, then we kind of knock on doors and we get more donations when you're in need. It's kind of like, you can't ask people to help you fix the roof if the roof ain't leaking yet, right? Sort of thing. So, going forward, as we need funds, we may have to do a little more of that. But, does that make sense?
Could it have to do with visibility? I mean, I noticed that there seemed to have been, project. There was an AGM conference, which seemed to have brought in more. Could that mean that there was more visibility? Could there be a correlation between visibility and donations?
Well, probably.
John, may I just...
Yeah, sure.
The one thing I would remind everyone is that we do not double dip when we're fundraising. So we rely on our membership and the association dues. And the association dues are for the research and for everything else that we do in the office. That doesn't apply if you don't have a charitable status, but it does if you do. And so we have that protective piece that covers that extra money that our groups give us. We tend not to be, we do not have a fundraising committee. So really we just live on what our groups, how our groups support us financially. And then we have a couple of donors that will, as John said, if we've got a big speaker, the one donor actually paid for that speaker that year. And sometimes he gives us 20,000, sometimes he'll give us 10. We have one donor that gives us 999 about every 4 months, just renewed in the last couple of years. So there isn't a massive, we don't get money from the Knights of Columbus or the Catholic Donors League or other organizations, and our membership is just our groups. Maybe that needs to change, but that's sort of part of why we haven't got masses of money, I think, to be honest.
So you would suggest that if there were appeals to, let's say, Knights of Columbus and Catholic Women's League and so on, there may be...
Catholic Women's League, yes. Knights of Columbus, probably no, because we don't have a charitable status. And that makes a big, big difference for us, too. Not that.
Well, do the Knights, I mean, the Knights are more philanthropic, would they be willing to give even though?
They haven't, Jeff, they said no to us, right?
No, yeah, they want to see charitable status, so they might give to the local groups that have charitable status, but they're disinclined to give Can't Pay Life or Life. Or they're not complicated.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Mostly the local groups will have a charitable arm, so that charitable arm cannot give money to non-charities. Except through the mechanisms that we have. We have a project where Alliance for Life is the agent of the charitable groups. Then really it's their project, it's not our project, and they can give money for the project. But the charitable groups cannot simply give Aflo money for Aflo to do it as they wish. Okay? So that's the difficulty in not having charitable status. So that's why we're relying upon individual angels, we call them, people who step up. We, for short money, we need to go project, they need money, and they don't care whether they get a receipt.
So if I understand correctly, you're saying that a group that itself has charitable status has no reason to give to groups that don't have charitable status, and that interfere with their own charitable status.
They cannot give money to non-charitable groups. But what you can do is you can pay membership dues. But their CRA will review that and make sure it's actual dues and not simply have to give money away. And then the other arrangement is our media campaign is a project that is permissible when you use an agent that is not charitable, and that's Aflo, to run projects that are actually joint projects of all the groups. So it is the activity of the project, the media campaign, for instance, is deemed to be one of your charitable activities. So by giving money to that project and appointing Aflo as your agent to help you complete the project, that's acceptable. That's not a donation to Aflo, that's you're spending money on your project, or the collective project.
So such a project would only be visible in terms of some, trademark, whatever you want to call it, brand for the charitable organization, say Knights of Columbus. It wouldn't have a brand that indicates visibility for Aflo, is that your thing?
Well, no, I'm saying, well, the media campaign which we've had for years is a collective project of all of the groups of Aflo. And that includes charitable organizations and those who don't have charitable status. That's acceptable provided it's documented by contract. We have done that. But apart from that, our members who are charities cannot simply give money to Aflo with no strength. You can't do that. You can't give it to any other organization that is not charitable. Say.
So one could have a project that does carry the brand, it gives visibility to Aflo, but it's a combined project.
Exactly. Aflo is the agent of the groups, and it's a project of the aggregate of the groups. And the CRA recognizes that as your activity, each of those control groups' activity. And you're simply doing something collectively with others and through an agent. And that agent doesn't have to.
Do you mind if I give an example? Jackie, do you mind if I give an example that, the last conference example?
No, you can't talk. Yes. This is still these,
And this might, an example a practical example might help explain. Our organization, Peace Education Services, is a charitable organization. We have similar values to Aflo. One of the things we want to do is train parents on how to guide their kids in healthy sexuality, right? We can collect funds and give a tax receipt, right? Because Aflo wants to partner with us, we can then accept donations to support the work of training parents through activities that Aflo wants to host, because it's in alignment with our vision, our goals, and our charitable status. Does that make sense?
Yeah, partially. Yeah.
The question is, how should donors know that they are giving, how can it be promoted to them so that they know that they're not simply giving to, peace, but it's going to a project that benefits Aflo?
At the last conference, we shared, and again, this is not super formalized yet, but we just said, if you make a contribution to peace, okay, at this conference, we will give you a tax receipt, and our treasurer is keeping those funds separately in the books to support future projects that Aflo wants to host that are, that involve us. Okay.
Well, I'll just say, directly, we're talking about Toronto. Okay, so, you're.
No, I'm Ottawa.
Oh, you're Ottawa, okay. So Action Light tells its members that, hey, together with all the other groups in Ontario, we have an activity that's called the Media Campaign. And from time to time, we buy media time on television, or we buy billboards that promote our issues. It's a collective project. So we show on your statements that this is the contribution we paid $5,000 to the media campaign. But you've got a document, you've got an agency agreement with Aflo that says Aflo is going to be the agent for the project, and it outlines what the project is and what you're going to do. And then each group signs on to that. And so you tell your members that that's one of your activities. And so if they say, I'd like to give you an extra $2,000 this year, and I'd like it to go to the media campaign that you're participating in, that's perfectly acceptable. You give them a receipt for that, and you put that money towards the campaign. And by agreement, Aflo cannot use it for any other purpose but that purpose.
So that gets to my point, though. I mean, in the end, it's not going to help the bottom line where we have a deficit in donations, because if, what's donated there is going to go to a pre-allocated expense, advertising, whatever it may be.
Well, that's generally what the practice has been. It would be nice to have, fundraising program where we could ask for donations, but part of the problem is that we cannot get a receipt.
So let's maybe cut that off there, and you two can talk more after, or anybody else has more questions. Those are good questions. Maybe some areas that we need to definitely, before we finish this up, it is really important that our local groups, I think, is it 4%?
Yeah, they got those, yes.
That they actually use that and help support Alliance for Life, because we are sort of the umbrella group of that. So,
Thank you, fellow board members, and Phil for jumping in there. The balance sheet on the page before. So we have our current assets, we have our liabilities, and then retained earnings, $68.99.01, current earnings, $77.99.72, and the total liabilities and equity, $15,567.92. Is there any questions on that? Hearing none, I would move the adoption of this report. Janet? Seconding, right? I moved, you're seconding? Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
thank you, Jean. Okay. Get into reports, I guess, and what do we do with them? They're all written, right?
Yeah, yours is on the table, and region 1 and region 2 have been distributed, and then there's mine. I will make a couple of comments, but you want to ask if the other board members?
Is there any other board members that didn't get a report in that just want to briefly share what you've done this year? All right, you know what, we'll just keep moving on then, and we'll get Jackie back up. And
Sorry, just for a second.
I will add that our monthly meetings, our directors that have other, their areas, we often share what we've done the last month, and you can look at the report in there. There's a lot of stuff happening out in the province, and we soon find out what works and what doesn't work, and that's frightening. So.
Yeah, just, there's one error in the Washington and Hanover report. The attendance at our dinner was 150, not 250.
That's on the Region 2 sheet, everybody, if you need to look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
250 sounds better.
It does, it does. And I just wonder if I could just point out a couple of spots from my executive director report. The first is our monthly pro-life training sessions. We have one coming up on Monday with Leah Malusis, and she's going to be looking at several of our groups and what they're facing with the unfair treatment they get from their cities. So I would just remind you again, normally it's on the first Monday, and they've been absolutely beautiful. They're Zoom calls, and everything gets sent out to your offices or presidents, whoever they are, and I'd really encourage you to get on those calls, because we've all learned a lot, we really have. The other piece I'd like to just remind you also is that we do have monthly MailChimp articles. We got thrown off of Facebook with our social media project, because every time we put anything on, the other side jumps in, and then everybody gets their knickers in a twist, and then we can't be on there. So we decided that we do a grassroots MailChimp. So every month I write something, we send it out, and you're given Facebook and all the social media platforms that you can then ping it onto. So we're doing our own Facebook with Aflo. Once again, if that hasn't been passed through to you from your board to the membership, please ask that it is. Other piece, we're all watching it, I'm sure you are too, these new soft bubble zones. It's really important that you make sure your city is not introducing those things. Although it's specifically not about us, we have our own special one, don't we, the abortion bubble zone. And I'm sure we'll have maid bubble zones very soon. But this soft bubble zone is really quite scary, to me at least, because it means that we're not just us, but as a citizenry, in certain places you're not allowed to protest or even march or even be peaceful around community centres, around churches, around many places in your city, which means, as I was saying this morning, you can go along and you can talk, and then in that zone you can't, and in that zone you can't. So it's our freedom of speech that really is in jeopardy at the moment. So just to pray about that, and we will keep our eye on it. And then, as Phil mentioned, we had an absolutely amazing conference, a joint conference between Peace and Aflo, April the 4th. The information that came out from it was unbelievable, and that was spurred by the Sex Information Council of Canada releasing their new sexual health guidelines, which really surprised me, because Phil told us that this wasn't professionals. Like, professionals didn't get together and put this drivel out, actually, although they're part of it. But basically, they just asked, like maybe a teenager and an older person and this person and that person, everybody that loves sex education, as to what the guidelines should be. And then they put them all in a nice thing, and then they put them out, and all the schools and everybody else just follows up. So we need to understand more about what is going on. And so the board is, and Peace, we're going to partner, please God. And if you want to have one of these conferences in your community, give the office a call and we'll set it up. We're starting, hopefully, to do a regional one. We may have one in the east. We will see how that goes, but that will be up in, Ottawa and around there. And I think Jan was thinking Strathroy. So, we've got 2 on the go, but if you haven't thought about it yet, please be in touch with the office and we would do a joint conference and help bring Phil's message to your community.
Jackie, where are you reading from? Like, I tried trying to follow along.
Oh, my apologies. This is my report.
Oh, I
It's
thought
my
it was
report.
longer.
I mean, you've got all of it. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. And then we will be looking at, I worked with the Catholic Women's League for nearly a year to develop 3 really good resolutions. They were wonderful. We worked on as a team and it was marvelous. And they passed at the local level in Hamilton, the diocesan level. But that's as far as they got. They just absolutely killed them at the Ontario level, which is frustrating to me as a CWL member, as well as being a pro-life person, because they were well researched. But I think maybe our fall down is that we expect people to understand too much about what we were trying to give them, and maybe there needed to be a workshop before. But anyway, what I didn't want to do is lose them, so I brought 2 of them to the conference today, just for our few-minute consideration, because time's getting on. And then the other piece that I did was work with the Christian Heritage Party. They have been amazing. They asked for help with their policy statements on life and family, and with the blessing of our board, I've been working with them to get those done. And for the last 2, so it'll be 4 years ago we did the first one, and then, no, 3 years ago we did the first one, and then last year we did the second batch of resolutions, and they all passed. So most things to do with family and life at the CHP policy level have been put together by us in collaboration with CHP. So I'm really, really pleased about that. But that's it. Your other business, John? Sure. I guess I have to stay here anyway. Oh, Blaze is coming up.
Yes, we'll invite Blaze up. I know he's got to share a little bit of how to get into schools. I think you're still doing a bit of that. I was in our Catholic school 2 years ago, and before visiting multiple classes, and halfway through the day, there was parents calling in complaining that somebody's talking about abortion. And it's like, seriously. And then I haven't been back yet since.
Thanks. I didn't deliver a report, but I do just want to say briefly that we have our Toronto Pro-Life Crash Course coming up July 17th to 19th. It's 3 days of pro-life training and street outreach in the city. So if you're interested in that, talk to Josh and I. Our focus is on reaching everyone in the Greater Toronto Area with the pro-life message. So that includes reaching high school students. And we have done that through presentations inside the public Catholic schools. There have been fewer schools that have been inviting us post-pandemic, but we're still speaking in a few. But there were new rules that came up in this most recent school year that is just ending that Jackie has asked me to update you on. At first, some of the schools that we were being invited back to when we first heard about this, we thought, all right, is that it? Is this an effort to get us shut out of the schools? It's actually something a little different that's going on. So Parents as First Educators, PAFE, an organization that many of you may be familiar with, the pro-life, pro-family organization, they covered this as a positive announcement. What happened is that the Minister of Education for Ontario put forth a new policy and a new directive to all school boards that about parental notification for guest speakers. So it says that as of the start of the 2024-2025 school year, your school will tell you, this is addressed to parents, your school will tell you about events and activities with guest speakers or performances at least 14 calendar days before the activity. There are provisions if it has to be less than 14 days, but it's harder that way. This information must include these details about the activity: date, time, location, title and topic of focus, connections to curriculum and or purpose, names of the speakers, presenters, performers, guest speakers, and the organizations they represent, and details of any handout materials, giveaways, or literature to be provided. So every school board was required to update their policy for external speakers to be in accordance with this. I had experience over the last year with 3 different Catholic school boards: Toronto, York Region, and through my day job with the Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform, the Niagara Catholic District School Board. In our experience so far, my experience so far, it has not been an ideological thing trying to keep pro-life speakers out, but it has been a bureaucratic thing. So for the York Region School Board, and then through my CCBR role for the Niagara Catholic School Board, it was some extra paperwork, a different form to be filled out that had to go through the principals or whatever, and things got approved, notice went out, there was no issue. For the Toronto Catholic School Board, my colleague Katie was scheduled to give presentations that we have given for several years, and we did do the same thing, go through those routines. The administrator missed the deadline and didn't send it out with the 14 days notice. It's not clear if that was intentionally slow rolling it or if it was just missed and late, but it was discouraging enough for the teacher to have to cancel and reschedule that he didn't bother. Like it was just too much effort to go through the administration a second time, you know? So the long and short of it is all school boards have this new requirement they need to meet for guest speakers. So there's more bureaucracy getting approved. It's ostensibly about notifying parents, but it's just an extra bureaucratic hurdle that we need to be able to get through. I guess the good news, well, not good news I would say, but one thing that is a little less burdensome is it's not necessarily every talk. So Katie and I did presentations for a school in York Region in the fall semester and then in the winter semester. We went through the approval once and then we were good for the rest of the year. They sent the notice out, but we didn't have to fill out the paperwork every time. But there is that new level of bureaucracy, and that's why.
Question, what, if one wants to see that directive or that policy change, what's the source?
You can find it buried somewhere in the government website. I think I could send a link to Jackie that she could forward. I find the best summary is on the PAIF blog. It's from July 2nd, 2024, but I can send that link to Jackie and she can send that around to everyone. They have a good summary. They herald it as good news and they link to the direct government directive if you want to see the full thing.
When you say that you have to get approved by the administration, is that the school or the board?
It is, I think it's more at the school level. I think the board sets the board has to set a policy that is in line with this new ministry directive. I don't think that, I mean, I guess it depends on the school board. If the school board sets a policy that they want to sign off on all guest speakers, or if they leave that to the principals and that sort of thing. I don't have the impression that the school board was heavily involved in any of this beyond setting the policy or maybe some just very procedural thing. It felt to me much more like it was between the teachers and the principals to make sure that they checked the boxes and sent the notification out at least 14 days in advance. But it might differ based on the school board. I'll keep taking questions until somebody cuts me off because I know we have time.
Is this policy came about because it's giving parents an option to opt their children out of these presentations?
I think that's why PAIF sees it as a good thing, right? And PAIF, like PAIF in their blog post, you know, they talk about Planned Parenthood presenting to the school with unapproved literature cards and sexually explicit acts and handouts being handed out to children and things like that. So it's ostensibly about telling parents when there's a guest speaker why they're coming, how it's connected to the curriculum, making sure you have advance notice so that if there's something you don't want your kids sitting in on, you have a right as a parent to know about that.
Which is fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
training from Toronto that you spoke of in July online, or?
No, it's in person in Toronto, yeah.
Is this policy, as far as you know, intended to give an opportunity to parents to inquire what sort of materials this person is going to be given?
I think so, yeah. It's because parents are supposed to receive date, time, location, title and topic, connections to the curriculum, details on handout materials. So, you know, we had to, the Niagara Catholic Board didn't ask me for much. I did an assisted suicide presentation, it was maybe a title. For the York Region Catholic Board, we had to submit more presentation materials. Like we had to submit our slides and an outline of the presentation, which is where we were first worried, but it would end up being fine. I'm not sure that, you know, all of those materials, like it's not like all parents are getting a copy of our entire slides and outline and that sort of thing, but parents are supposed to get some kind of summary that's like, here's what's being addressed, here's when it's happening, here's why it's happening, the connections to the curriculum, here's the organizations they're coming from, and here's any details of handouts that are being given.
So the reason I ask is I know that at least in private schools, parents often do inquire and want, you know, more demonstration of what the content is. And it's an interesting thing because, as you probably know, there are a number of municipalities that are claiming that the image of a fetus is graphic, too graphic.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, I would agree that the images of destroyed fetuses is too graphic. But, you know, image of a living fetus is certainly not too graphic. But people get pretty cloudy about that.
Right.
So how, for example, in your case, how would you respond to, I'm a parent, I say, oh, what about graphic images? What would you say to that?
Well, in the presentations that we gave when we were approved to give, we played procedures from abortionprocedures.com, played videos that show through medical illustrations how an abortion procedure is actually performed, narrated by former abortionists. We use actual photos of abortion victims and videos on the streets. We used those abortion procedures videos in the classroom. It was a medical explanation of the procedure that we were talking about from medical professionals, is how we would explain that and how we explain that in the presentation. For our school presentations, our connection is not directly with parents. It's with the teachers. So what we do is build that relationship with the teachers of trust of how we're handling the issue. Also, it's that we're handling it with sensitivity, like sensitivity. The teachers who are inviting us in know that, yes, we are showing abortion procedures videos. We are handling the topic with compassion and understanding and open to any questions the students have, and handling the issue with expertise. So the teachers like how we handle the issue, and they're equipped to handle questions from parents. I didn't hear anything about anything new from parents this year with that requirement in place in the schools that we did give, or that I did give presentations, that Katie gave presentations. We also have feedback forms where we gather information on what students think before and after the presentation, and we have in the past shared that with other teachers. You know, as in, here's what students are actually telling us on anonymous feedback forms. So oftentimes the fears don't actually match what the students actually say. So, you know, here's how students actually receive it. Like 90% of them say they appreciate the presentation and would recommend it, even though 90% of them don't agree with us. So things like that we share. Is that the cutoff?
Yeah.
All right. Feel free to ask me questions after.
Is it a burning issue, Jeff?
Well, no, I'll speak to Blaze after.
Okay. Thank you, Blaze. That's important to get to the young people for sure. Okay. Is the next one about the resolution, Jackie?
No, it's the finance committee.
Obviously, we didn't get together before the meeting.
Sorry, here it is. It's the finance committee,
Yeah,
just
so
to
what are we
note
doing?
it.
What about it?
Just to note it.
Oh,
to
just,
note.
oh, okay.
Number 2 under others, recommendations of finance.
Yeah, it was his one.
Yeah, yes, what about it?
Okay. Just everybody, just keep your eyes open, because we all know that this is going to affect our pregnancy care centres and our pro-life educational centres first. And it's obviously going after everybody else that has a religious voice or a voice for life in our country. And I just wanted to keep it in front of you, that's all, because we're all having to look and keep aware of it.
May I ask, is anyone, any group thinking of writing and presenting a brief to the Finance Committee?
Yeah, I know our bishop in London Diocese had all the churches sign a petition, so that's floating around. Evangelical group is aware in our area, so it's
I meant a brief, not a petition, sorry. Actual brief, actual presentation.
yeah.
Well, we haven't. There's no reason why we couldn't, right? Jeff?
Right now, it's
But it died, that proposed legislation died when the...
Yeah, but they're talking about bringing it back in.
If they bring it back, then...
Yeah, so it's, if I understand it right, it's in the budget, but this government said they're not bothering with the budget this year, so...
Except for these two pieces, except
They're
for
still floating around.
49 and 330.
Well, the only reason I mentioned it is we could be caught with our pants down, especially if they have an interim budget, and if no one's prepared with a brief. So it's a good idea, I think, for people to think about preparing.
Sure, yeah.
But again, I think we've got a lot of national organisations. I think Focus on the Family have, the CCCB have, the Evangelical Fellowship of Canada has already. They've all prepared briefs. ARPA's prepared briefs. So it's not that they're not
Canadian
being
bishops
put
have.
together. Yeah.
So,
Thanks for the answers.
4 Cs, were they involved in that?
Don't know actually. With the 4 Cs, they probably would be.
Probably would be.
Yeah.
The ones that defended charitable status and anything.
yeah,
You
no,
know-
they're active about it. Yeah, I've seen something on that.
Yeah, you know what I'll do is I'll collect links for all those briefs and send them out to everybody, and then maybe if we talk, if we need to, we can do a brief for that. So very quickly to get us, just keep us on time. I'm bringing this up again because I just need I need us all to understand the Contraception and Abortion Research Team. That includes the Abortion Rights Coalition of Canada, it includes Action Canada, it includes our government and other people. And basically what they have done is they have created materials on how to get an abortion in Canada, a booklet. They've set up, they're now calling it abortion care. So basically you have the students who are going to be doctors, the students who are going to be nurses, the students who are going to be midwives, the students who want to be pharmacists, all are being now forced, if you want to stay in, to be trained in abortion care. And I'm sure that it will be the same with maid care. What is so frustrating to me about this is, that it's all the usual actors with all our taxpayer dollars promoting their ideology. And I don't know what the answer is to it, to be honest with you. I did put a big, I know we're a provincial organisation, but I did put a note out to a lot of national groups and provincial groups and said, can we sit together and see what strategy we can put together for this? I got one reply. So would you pray for that, please? Because I'm going to go, over the summer, we're going to ask them again, we have to do something. We can't just sit back as a pro-life movement and the people of faith and allow them to just railroad over everything. And talking about railroading, we have several groups that are not being given the service that their cities give to every other group. And just one example from Kincardine Godrich. Many of them are about flags and proclamations and things, but this is specific to just purchasing a 2-hour public swim at their city, which they did in Kincardine 2 years ago. And they wanted to do another one, and this time apparently they've been told that they have got to go to the city and make a case for them to be able to purchase a 2-hour public swim. And what that means is, people get in free, and then you have a little table, and they have their fetal models. It's all they had, and it went down very, very well. So everybody else that wants a public swim can just get on a list, you pay your fee or whatever it is, and you go. But Kincard and Godrich are now being told they have to present to their city council. So we're going to have a go at the city over the summer and see how that goes. And then we'll, as I usually say, I call as Ontario and just ask for the reasons. And and I tell them that I'm trying to collect the information so that I can go to our volunteer legal counsel for some assistance, which is, yeah. And I have to tell you, it changes their attitude. It's just amazing. Yes, Darren?
I gather that ARCC is largely behind a lot of the push with the municipalities to curtail the message, even if it's just a picture of a live fetus.
Everything, Gary. If you go on the Abortion Rights Coalition of Canada website, they have their newsletters listed. If you go to the newsletter that is 2017 summer, you will find the first discussion about how they are mobilizing to stop pro-life advertising, to stop pro-life not protesting, but any sort of vigils. They had one sign in Kelowna that said, respect human life. And at this end, a little thing from conception, and at the end, natural death. They had one councillor that said, and I'm going to do it, I'm afraid to walk down that street. I mean, seriously. Anyway, so it's not, I shouldn't make it, we need to get on. But, you know, we should not be treated this way. Our voice should be like every other voice in the community. So anyway, all those things are going on, and it's a lot of fun. Now we have our elections, but may I ask if we could just do the two other pieces first, because the elections really won't take too long. I'd forgotten that was in the other business. We have the two resolutions that you have there. And basically, it's. I know you really haven't had much time to read, so if you don't want to sort of okay it today, that's fine. But it would be neat to. You see the resolved clauses. Really, the resolved clauses and the action items are what the board would like you to look at. So for the first resolution, that Alliance for Life Ontario in 2025 annual general meeting assembled urged the Ontario provincial government to define elective and medically necessary treatment separately in the Healthcare Consent Act, and be it further resolved that the requirements for informed consent are enhanced and expanded to specifically identify appropriate higher standards for informed consent with respect to elective treatments, including those prescribed for social or recreational purposes, especially in the case where the person is a pregnant female, and that this resolution be forwarded to all Alliance for Life Ontario member groups for local and provincial action. Now, Jeff is here to put me straight, but basically, all treatment is treatment. It's just treatment. So if you are ill and you have to have emergency treatment, or if you are ill and you have to have regular or following your symptoms and all that, those treatment, that's one thing. But we have nearly 50,000 women, and there's other things, but if we think about abortion, that are healthy women going into a surgery that many are not healthy in many, many ways when they come out of it. So all we're really asking here is that when it is an elective treatment, and we don't want to just mention abortion, we want to cover everything, and the woman is pregnant, that there is a special higher standard when you go into something in a healthy manner. Jeff, do you want to, is that okay or not okay?
Yeah, when I looked at this question a number of years ago, what I noticed was there are a number of cases in the case reports, and so we're talking about judge-made law, we call that common law. The courts recognized that there was one case that was about birth control, and it was kind of curious the language the judge used. he said it was for recreational purposes. And not for truly necessary medical reasons. And so the courts have recognized that there's a higher standard of informed consent when a health practitioner is presenting proposed treatment, this kind of treatment, elective treatment, versus necessary. So they're holding them to a higher standard of making sure the patient has received all the information they need to make an informed choice. So all this really is doing is asking the legislation to reflect that as well. And so the legislation has not reflected that. As Jackie said, it treats all treatments the same and seems to operate in the premise that it's one standard. And yet common law has recognized that there's a higher standard there is true. So we think that this might have an indirect beneficial effect on insurers, people who insure doctors for medical negligence, and also on the doctors and other health practitioners themselves. If the law, the statute actually said that there was a higher standard, then it might influence their conduct in a good way.
So by higher standard, you mean basically a higher bar for them to
demonstrate? Let me give you an example. An example is that if the treatment is necessary, then a doctor can say, I don't need to tell them about some studies that say that talk about an adverse effect of this treatment that I don't agree with. Whereas if the judge said in common law approaches that if it's truly an elective treatment, you as a doctor have an obligation, even if you don't agree with the study, is to tell the patient about the study.
Yeah, so a higher bar.
Yeah, a higher bar. Yeah, it's a higher bar. So right now, sex health workers who, are counseling people about the birth control pill, they reject all the science that we've studies that we've studied and show that birth control pill is harmful. And so they say, well, I don't agree with those studies, so I don't have to tell them about it. But if this higher standard is put in place, they would have to say, tell them about all these studies that actually show harmful adverse effects.
So I know you've probably got lots of questions, and we're running late now. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, all I would ask is that if you could consider it, because the office will put a brief together to the government, and then there are just action items that would be helpful, we believe, at the local level, which you see there. It's nothing really too onerous, but I just wanted to give you the background so that you knew where we were coming from, and if we're all going to be in this together, that we've got work to do at both ends. So, do you want to entertain a resolution?
Yeah.
Just a motion to adopt it.
So do we have a motion to adopt it as stated there? Morris, okay, a seconder. Over here. Glenn? Great.
I would just push the caution about one thing, if you don't mind. The caution is this. Right now, officially, if you really think about it, there is no obligation for the federal government to be transferring funds to provinces to procure abortions. Why? Because constitutionally, abortion is not a right. So even though even though there are complications of things that happen, like ectopic pregnancy, that's healthcare, you have to deal with that. But the claim that abortion is healthcare already is something that needs to be countered really by the pro-life movement. Yeah. And the problem with this could be that a province says, okay, well, we've raised the standards here so that when this elective procedure occurs, well, we've already met a really high due diligence of letting the people know what's involved, and they're making that choice. So it seems to me it could be argued that they could say, we stand behind our claim that this is, health care, this abortion, this elective abortion, is health care, and we have to have the funding for it. So just for what I'm trying to suggest here is it could be seen as putting a gold lining on, a procedure of abortion, which we actually know ourselves isn't really healthcare. So anyway, that's just my caveat.
Yeah, no, Jeff, do you have anything?
Well, just that, that's why, since it was proposed in 2010, and this has been a political issue in the pro-life movement, we don't want to refer to abortion at all.
No.
The proposal would be
We're just
elective
treatment.
treatments and
Yeah.
leave it open. So that
Yeah.
it's based on the principle that if abortion was not an issue, it wasn't existent, this would still be useful
Yeah.
legislation because it's based on the principle of elective versus
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah, we know we're talking about abortion, but we're not talking about abortion, we're talking about elective.
So
So,
we're not putting forward legislation which would constitute, which would suggest that we are approving abortion.
Good.
okay.
Quick question?
Just a small point, to be controversial and inflammatory, it's with regarding to, it's not meant to be offensive
No,
to
fine.
our mission here. But since this resolution is to deal with dealing with the government, on the second paragraph, where, in the last sentence, where it says, in case where the person is a pregnant female. Strike out the word female.
No, we're not going to do that.
Pregnant person.
And say just leave it as person, with the idea that if you're dealing with the a woke or progressive bureaucracy,
Right.
it won't be an item there that they can challenge that and dismiss it. It's not a matter of approval, it's a matter of, in a sense, speaking the language of the opponent from their point of view, even though our meaning is the same. It's a female because they're not pregnant.
It's reality we're dealing with, isn't it? All right.
I won't.
So you
Don't
can
ask
suggest
me,
an
I'd say
amendment.
that.
I mean,
Pardon?
I agree with what the gentleman just said. I've been in a whole assembly of people at the University of Ottawa on supposed medical ethics, and openly we're talking about pregnancy-able persons, as if men could be pregnant.
Okay, just remember that this is not going to be sent to the government, right? This is for you to say yes.
No, I know, but
Sure.
if ultimately it was a resolution to ask for legislation in the government, it would be helpful right now to be clear in the language that couldn't be faulted by the woke. I mean, the word person works, right? Pregnant person, we know that that's a woman.
Or it could just be where the person is present.
Or where the person is pregnant, yeah.
You do what you like. I want us to speak our language. I don't care how woke and how whatever, but ignore me. Carry on. I just.
For amendment, and let it be voted on.
I guess.
It's not on the floor yet.
Oh, yeah.
Has it been moved to second?
No, we are still
We're
discussing.
in the discussion.
Yeah, you should move it seconded first and then entertain amendments.
All right, so the proposal, the resolution as it's written, I guess, do we already have, did anybody,
He moved it, didn't you?
you already moved it, right? Yeah, we're looking for a seconder. You seconded. All in favor of,
No.
Now someone should
okay, proposed amendment, right, discussion.
Striking out.
Maurice, you have to write this amendment down, okay? Stephen, sorry, I think we're going to be a bit late.
We can make it up at lunchtime. We've got an hour scheduled for lunch, so. Yeah.
I don't know what my status is.
You should really write it down so that we're not, unless you want to say it clearly so that Maurice can record it.
Yes. Let me try this. My amendment to the resolution,
Should be written.
where it's ending in the person is a pregnant female, strike out the word female. And leave it as is.
And the word,
Yeah, we're not.
Right.
It says the person is pregnant.
Person is pregnant. You got that, Maurice? the times we're dealing with. So how does this work now?
So now you're asking for a second?
Second to the amendment. And Alan, back there. All right.
Invite discussion.
Any discussion on that?
If there isn't any, then you can call.
The lady.
No, I totally agree with you that it has to be named like a female. Like we are not playing languages
Play the
here.
game, yeah. I can understand both sides of this, but
Okay,
and we got to want to be effective too. So,
so you need the vote.
all right, I'll call a vote for the amendment on the so the amendment part of this resolution.
This is board members only, right?
Yes,
Uh,
it's representatives of
All members?
all members here. All right.
No.
All in
Yeah, but you
favor
have to be
of
paid up.
that one?
Yeah.
Put your hand up.
Put your hands up straight, because it's hard.
This might.
Okay, I'll count.
You better count. You know what? I'm gonna. Oh, yeah. Anybody opposed? If the number is just a few. All right. So that is carried.
That's carried.
Yes.
Now call for
The amended.
the motion with the amendment.
Right. All right. So now motion for the amended resolution that we just changed, which I think we all understand that. So a motion on that.
You've already moved and seconded, so you're just calling for the vote.
Just calling for a vote. All right. Sorry, I gotta.
It's all right, if you're in the learning curve, that's okay.
All right. All in favor of this resolution as it is now. All right. Any opposed? That's fine. That's carried. Thank you.
All right, so the second one is just regarding, you did well. Yeah, look at you. Andy. All right, the second one is regarding collection of reporting. As I said earlier, there is no Ontario legislation that mandates, I'll call them the independent health facilities, but they've changed that name, to report any demographic information to government on the abortions that are performed in their facilities. So this is just really calling on that to be done, so that Alliance for Life Ontario in 2025 annual general meeting assembled urged the Ontario provincial government to create and enact legislation mandating that all out-of-hospital health facilities in Ontario providing either surgical or medically induced abortion collect and report annually comprehensive and demographic data to the Ontario Ministry of Health for public access and for both public and private research, which would enable in-depth research to be undertaken regarding the effect of induced abortion on Ontario women's health. And that this resolution again be sent out, and there is some action items for us as local groups at the end of it, somewhere, can't see it here. Yeah, there it is. Once again, it really is a bit of running interference, that's all, letting them know we're out here. So, over to you, John.
Okay, where we started? Discussion on motion? Motion. A motion for that resolution. Yes. Janet, yes. Seconder, all right.
Thanks,
Gary.
Gary.
Any discussion on that one? All right, seeing none, all in favor of that resolution? That looks pretty good. Any opposed? That is carried.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So now we're down to elections. You can't do it because you're
No, I know.
sorry. I think I was born with a microphone in my hand. Right, so you have the election sheet. I did put it out. It's very, very simple for us, being very simple. So I'll just read through this for those that may not be familiar with our board structure. So the top, let me go to the bottom piece where it says regional directors nominated and elected to the Aflo board by their regions. So in the way that we work here is because we have regions, those regions are, there's room here, Mr. Heidinger, Melody, there's room here. The regional groups decide who is going to be their director. And then that director sits on the Alliance 5 Ontario board. I've just spread myself out. Don't worry, there's plenty of room there. So we have, and I'll go through these because some of them are not here, unable to be here. Helen, where are you? Helen is our Region 1 director. Nancy, where are you? Nancy Bartz, okay, Region 2. Region 3, she's just had to step off, so we're actively, they're having discussion in Region 3, hopefully, about who will replace. Region 4, again, that discussion is going on, and they couldn't get it sorted by our meeting. Blaise is with Toronto, which is our Region 5. Louise Harbour is not here, but she's with Eastern Ontario, and Brenda Howie, again, she lives in Kirkland Lake. She is in Northeast Ontario, and the groups there decide who is going to be on our board. So that's how that works. So the top ones are the ones you've got to look at today, please. And so these are Janet Smith. Where's Janet? There you go. Maurice Tamoyne, who does our minutes, right? John Lammers, who is our current president. Jeff Couchy, and Michael Hale, who is our past president and couldn't be here. We didn't receive any other nominations up till June the 10th, so these are those who have been nominated, who are prepared to run. And what happens is we just nominate them to the board, and then they will meet at the end of June, which is nearly coming, and decide who will be president and secretary, etc., to serve you for the next year. So I have a nomination for Janet Smith, but we do need a secretary, we do need a seconder. Okay, Jean Headley. Okay, all right, so any questions about that? No? All right, all in favor? Okay, those opposed? I had a friend that used to say contrary minded. Contrary minded, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So we have Janet, you're back on. Sorry about that. Maurice is our secretary, so Maurice has been nominated by Tilsonburg, but we do need a seconder for Maurice. Thank you, that's our Region 1 chair. Helen, thank you very much, Helen. Any discussions? Please keep him on because he's very good. Okay, so as the vote then, please. All in favour? Okay, any contrary minded? No? You sound so important saying that. Okay, I know I'm not. And John Lammers, who served as president for this last year, has been nominated by Lambton. We need a seconder, please. Thank you, Blaise. See, it's his fault. If you don't want to come on. Okay. Any discussion regarding that? No? Okay, and the vote then, those in favour? Thank you. Any opposed? I'll go back to being simple. No, thank you very, very much. Well done, John. Jeff Couchy has been nominated by Guelph Right to Life as a member of Guelph. We need a seconder, please. Helen, thank you very much. And any discussion again there? We'll have the vote then, please, if we may. Those in favour? This is you get some exercise. Those, let's go back to being posh. Contrary minded? No. Oh, that's good. All right, so thank you. Well done, Jeff. And Michael, who is not here but has been nominated by London, and I need a seconder for Michael, please. Jeannie, thank you very much. It's your fault too, then you got this bunch. Okay. Any discussion? All in favour? Thank you. Go on, we'll end it on a good one. Any contrary minded? No. Okay. That is wonderful. Thank you very much. And I'll thank you on behalf of me to the board because they are such a great board. Would you just stand up and take a bow, please? If you don't mind. It's important. They do a lot of good work. Thank you. Over to you to adjourn.
Yeah, so do we need a motion to adjourn? No, we don't. It's on the agenda, so we'll adjourn this part of the meeting. We're going to give you a big 10 minutes. 'Cause we need to get-
7.
Well,
Yeah.
take 10. We'll make up a little bit at lunchtime because there's an hour scheduled for lunch, so we can,
You're not going to eat, right?
well, we'll just, shave a little there. So
Okay.
take 10 minutes, stretch, grab a coffee, something, and we'll be back.
That's so good.